In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to graph quadratics and use their graphs to apply to real-world situations. The vertex form of a quadratic is in the form of a x minus h squared plus k. The vertex of this form is automatically going to be hk. Now please remember, or please note that this is an x minus h. So the opposite sign is going to be inside the vertex. The up and down test, the graph opens up if a is positive, just like when we talked about the standard form, which is ax squared plus bx plus c. A and this a are the same symbol. It is what's going to tell us if the graph is going to open up or if it's going to open down. The axis of symmetry is automatically x equal the x coordinate of the vertex. Since the vertex is automatically h for the x value, it's automatically x equals h, and the y-intercept is the same. You still plug 0 in for x in order to find your y-intercept. So for an example, y equals 1/3 x minus 3 squared minus 4. First, we want to know, is it a minimum or a maximum? So we're looking at a. A is a positive number, so therefore the graph is going to open up on both sides, which means we are going to get a minimum value at our vertex. Next, the vertex is automatically the number inside the parentheses for the x coordinate, but it's the opposite sign. Since it's x minus 3, it is a positive 3 for the vertex. And then the y coordinate of the vertex is automatically the outside number. -4 means it's going to be -4. Only the x value changes signs. So the vertex is 3, -4, so we know that that's the vertex. We also know it's a minimum value. The axis of symmetry is x equals my x value, which is going to be x equals 3, so we will have a vertical line that goes through that coordinate point. And the y-intercept means we're going to plug 0 in for y, 0 in for x, and solve. 0 minus 3 squared is a positive 9, and 1/3 times 9 is 3. 3 minus 4 is -1. So the y-intercept is 0, -1. 0, -1. Which means this parabola, we know it opens up because that's a minimum value. It's a u, so it's going to look something sort of like that. Now, you actually can convert in between standard form and vertex form. So this is considered standard form, and we can actually create the vertex form from that. And the way we do it is, one, is we find the vertex. So the vertex is -b over 2a. So we know that a represents 2, b represents 10, and c represents 7. So -b over 2 times a is going to give us a -10 over 4, which gives us a -2.5. So that is the x coordinate of the vertex. So we now know that the vertex is -2.5, and now we need to find the y coordinate. We find the y coordinate by plugging it back in. So we'll get 2 times -2.5 squared plus 10 times a -2.5 plus 7. So we'll get 2 times 6.25, 2.5 squared is 6.25, minus 25, 10 times 2.5 is 25, plus 7. So we will get 12.5 minus 25 plus 7, which will give us 19.5 minus 25, which will give us a -5.5. So -5.5 is our y coordinate. Now that we know the vertex and we also know a is 2, we can actually write it into our vertex form, which is y equals a parentheses x minus h squared plus k. We know a, it's 2. We know h, it's a -2.5, so it's going to change signs to become a positive. And we know k, it is -5.5. And we have now written our equation from standard form into vertex form. So again, First step, find the vertex using the formula negative b over 2a. Once you find the x value, plug it back in to find the y value. And then your a, in this case, which is 2, becomes the same a value in your vertex form. So we can write this equation in vertex form of this parabola. First, we know the vertex. So the vertex is going to be -1, -3. So therefore, we know that it's ax plus 1, because it's the opposite sign. When you plug in a -1, it turns it to a positive, and then -3. Now, the parent function is going to have, this a basically represents where we would say a slope is in a linear function, the number in front of x, we call it a slope. In this case, we actually call it a shrinking or a stretching of a parabola. So it actually is a factor. This function will factor by a certain number. To find that number, here's what we do. We take another coordinate point that is on this graph, which in this case we could use the coordinate point 1, 1, because it actually crosses at 1, 1. And what you do is you actually plug that back in. So I'm going to plug 1 in for y. I'm also going to plug 1 in for x, and then we'll solve for a. So we'll get 1 equals a times 2 squared minus 3. So we'll get 1 equals 2 squared is 4. By the way, please make sure you understand 2 squared is 4. Do not subtract 4 minus 3 to get 1a. This 2 squared, this 4, is with the a. You do not subtract 4 minus 3. This 4 is multiplied by a variable. Now, to solve for a, I'm going to add 3 to both sides, and I'll get 4 equals 4a. Divide by 4, and a equals 1. So therefore, our final answer is going to be 1, because that's what the value is for a, x plus 1 squared minus 3. Now, if we have a function, but we do not have the actual graph, we can still do the same thing. To find an equation that has a vertex of 1, 2, and it passes through this point, we can do the same thing. So we know that the vertex is 1, 2. So therefore, we know that it's going to be a parentheses x minus 1 squared. Remember, opposite sign. This is the x coordinate. I guess you could also go ahead and say that this is your h value. This is your k value. So it would be x minus 1 squared plus 2. Now, to find a, we are going to plug in the numbers 0 and 0 into our x and y. So I'm going to plug 0 in for y. I'm going to plug 0 in for x. So I'll get 0 equals a times -1 squared plus 2. So I'll get 0 equals 1a, because -1 squared is just 1a, plus 2. So to solve for a, I'm going to subtract 2, and then a equals a -2. So therefore, we know that a is -2, and then we know our vertex, and we have now been able to write an equation from these 2 points. So let's review. Let's write this in vertex form. First, we know that a is 1, we know that b is -8, and we know that c is 7. So to find the vertex form, we do -b over 2a. So we'll get -b divided by 2 times 1, so we'll get 8 divided by 2, which is 4. So we know that the x value of our vertex is 4. Remember, that is h. Now we got to find k. The way we do that is we plug 4 back in. So we'll get 4 squared minus 8 times 4 plus 7. So you'll get 16 minus 32, which is -16, and -16 plus 7 is a -9. Use your calculator just to make sure that that works, and so -9 becomes k. We also know that a represents the same number in both types of forms. So our final answer is going to be y equals a, which is 1, x minus our h value, which is 4, squared, plus k, which is a -9. So the standard form is x squared minus 8x plus 7. The vertex form is x minus 4 quantity squared minus 9. Write the equation of the graph. Well, we know that this is our vertex, which is -3, -2. Which that is our h value, that is our k value. So we know that it's going to be y equals a parentheses x plus 3 squared plus 3 because it's the opposite sign. And then the k is -2. But we've got to figure out what is a. So you got to take another coordinate point, which in this case would be -2, -4, because that is a place where it crosses at -2, -4. And we're going to plug those numbers in. So we're going to plug -4 into y. We're going to plug -2 into x and solve. So we'll get -4 equals -2 plus 3 is 1. 1 squared is just 1, and 1 times a is a, minus 2. So to solve for a, I'm going to add 2 to both sides and get -2 for a. So now that we know a and we know our vertex, our final answer is going to be -2, because that's our a value, and then x plus 3 squared minus 2.